The defining factor as to whether or not a gameplay mechanic belongs in a game is how well said mechanic is integrated into basic gameplay. I'm sure we've all had to be constantly reminded to use a certain function sometime or another, one that feels gimmicky, boring, or just plain dumb. What makes or breaks a mechanic is not only how useful it is, but how well it keeps with the pace of the game and how compelled the player is to actually use it. That being said, the V.A.T.S system from Fallout is a great example of how to implement a gameplay element that's fun and fits with the aforementioned criteria. Now, let me school you on this.
Lesson 1. Just how does this thing work?
By pressing just one button, time is frozen and the player is able to select a nearby NPC and then decide which limb is a suitable candidate for annihilation. A percentage is shown next to each ligament, dishing out those sweet details on the likelihood of collision.
Wait, why would you want to hit anything but the head?
Well, I'm glad you asked. You can cripple limbs too. This can prevent the use of guns, slow people down, outright paralyze them, and just about everything in between.
Can I be crippled too?
You sure can.
Cool!
That's why it's a good idea to kill everyone else as fast as possible. Also provided is how much damage will be dealt and how many times the player can shoot before returning to normal gameplay, which is represented in action points, or AP. These regenerate over the course of a few seconds outside of V.A.T.S. Certain items can be used to speed up this process though.
Is that all there is to it?
Sure is.
Wow, that sure is easy, but I still want to know.
Lesson 2. Why does it work?
As I'm sure you can tell, right out of the box, it's a pretty useful concept. However, despite being more complicated than your average slow down or freeze time for accurate shooting, the base concept isn't utterly new or anything. Where the cleverness of this really shines is how it's integrated into an RPG, where strategy is prominent in nearly all facets as a strategy element, instead of simply a more precise aiming system. First of all, it allows the player to scope out the situation and formulate a game plan.
Well, he has a gun, but he has a knife. I think I'll kill the guy with the gun first, as he poses more of a threat to me.
Considering these strange screwballs from the wasteland range from weaklings with sticks of wood to gunslinging, fear-bringing, hell-singing steroid junkies, going guns blazing as a first resort isn't exactly the wisest option there is. You're bound to cross the wrong fella eventually, and when you do, the V.A.T.S gives you the info you need to make an appropriate decision. Even if you did decide to just have yourself an old-fashioned standoff, what use is that laser rifle when you can't hit diddly squat? The whole game is all about stats. What aspects of your character do you want to improve? From speaking to lockpicking to just about everything else is a numbers game. Why should the combat be any different? By implementing V.A.T.S as a test of your gun skill, gunplay becomes more than frantically trying to aim down your sights to get a couple of shots in before you're nearly dead. This added intricacy not only blends the combat well with the rest of the game, but also makes all aspects of confrontation risk versus reward instead of a point-blank,
looks like I have more guys to kill,
bringing back that element of strategy. From wondering whether or not the fight is even worth the toll on your ammo and health, to deciding if a potential crippled arm is more valuable to the scenario than a possible critical headshot, the V.A.T.S presents a multitude of options to the player that simply wouldn't be available without. In an open-world RPG setting, these choices encourage the player to pick a playstyle. Am I the kind of guy to avoid as much combat as possible and play it safe, or do I like killing everything and getting a ton of loot? This is where I think the role-playing aspect shines most. Of course, nothing is perfect. Is there any way the V.A.T.S could be better? Let's look at a couple of possibilities.
Lesson 3. Could it be better? This is subjective, so just my opinions.
Now that we've deciphered what exactly makes V.A.T.S tick, what else could be implemented to enhance the already well-established system?
Slowing down time.
From what we've seen in Fallout 4 so far, V.A.T.S seems nearly identical aside from one big change. It slows down time instead of freezing it. I could see this forcing the player to think on their feet, even in V.A.T.S. As it is, the V.A.T.S doesn't feel like it really breaks the pace of gameplay, but this will just keep everything flowing even more nicely.
Action points.
Having your AP regenerate on its own during normal gameplay works well enough, as it breaks up the usage of V.A.T.S enough that the combat isn't too easy. I do think that more could be done with AP though. What if there was a perk that allowed the player to fully regenerate AP once they lose enough health? It wouldn't be too intrusive, but it would also be freaking sweet to take down that last enemy at 2 HP in slow motion.
Scanning.
Being able to scan enemies for information is, like we said, very helpful in combat, but it really is just limited to combat. There's no reason to even open up V.A.T.S if there isn't a threat. Maybe you could upgrade your V.A.T.S as a skill, or even with different parts you find around the world. V.A.T.S could also be used as a way of quickly figuring out information aside from health. Open up V.A.T.S on someone, and depending how high your V.A.T.S skill is, it could tell you whether they like you or not, if they've assigned you any objectives, or even what's in their inventory. It could even scan things that aren't NPCs, like boxes, doors, things things like that. The higher your V.A.T.S skill, the more information you're given about what's inside. This could be useful when you're in a crowded area and can't decide if pickpocketing someone or picking a lock is worth the risk. Again, these are just hypothetical ideas that could integrate V.A.T.S more into basic gameplay as opposed to keeping it solely a combat element. I'd love to hear what your ideas for V.A.T.S are in the comments. I'm Load Save, thanks for watching, take it easy, and Fallout 4 comes out in a few months.
I like Fallout 4. It'll be fun. I think that I'm gonna like to shoot guns. I like the game. I like RPGs. I really hope this game isn't too easy. I like a good challenge. I like to be challenged. I hope that Fallout 4 presents a challenge. I really do. Hope that.